Hi, this is Lynn Wright from Glazierbug Dolls and More, and I'm bringing you some more potato chip bag, snack bag, thin mylar crafts. If you've seen the first one on flowers, then you know that basically you've cleaned out a chip bag and you've painted it with alcohol inks, and then you cut it either in a die cutter for flowers, or I found a new shape that seems to be working okay. And that is feathers. Once again, this is kind of inspired by Shelley, king of crafting mamas. She was making some feather pens, and then I started thinking, feathers. This is on a little shiny pipe cleaner or chenille stem. So it is bendable to use in projects. This one here, I've done nothing to. I just, I think I'm going to glue it on a project, on a flat project, maybe a card or something like that. They can be a little wonky, but they're quite pretty, and they're not any harder to do than the flowers. So I'll try and make a couple of small ones to give you an idea on how to do it. Once again, here's the colored potato chip bag. It's kind of somewhat cut at a point. It's not exact. And not everyone has a pair of, these are scissors that will cut a fringe. You can do this with single scissors. This just makes it so much faster. I did a lot of making of piñatas. My daughter really likes piñatas for all of her birthday parties, and these things saved me, believe me. Saved me many, 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 many hours of cutting fringe. Okay, cut both of these. Got it. Just cutting them slightly at an angle, and be careful not to cut all the way through the middle. Try to cut somewhat deep. You can always go back and cut the middle a little bit more as long as you get those ends. Okay. So what I do to control the burn, the melt, is I use a butter knife and my scissors, and these are cheap dollar store scissors, but they work really well. I always have a sharp pair of scissors that way. So I'm going to first just melt slightly down the middle of the feather. So take my heat gun. Now, because it was just heating up, the next melt is going to go much faster. So I've puckered the middle somewhat. Then I'm going to take the butter knife, and hopefully it's cooled down enough. Put this on top on the middle, and now I'm just going to slightly melt the tips of the feathers. Now this side's looking good. Looks like I could probably trim it in just a tiny bit more to get more of a feather look. Just going to work on this side just a little bit more. Don't want to burn the tips too much, so once again I'm going to kind of control the melt with some metal here. the bottom. And you have a feather. You know, depending on how you cut them, you can have more of a point. You know, I could melt this down a little bit or trim this down more. But it does have a, you know, a good, fairly good feather shape, which is kind of hard to see because it's so metallic. And we'll do one more. So again, I've just fringed this one. Maybe I'll give it a little bit slightly better shape on the bottom. Cutting some of that excess off. I do like to try to use as much as possible. Once again, I'm going to kind of put some metal on each side, and that metal will get hot, so be careful. And I'm going to melt the middle. Oops! I'm going to melt the top a little too much. We shall see. Okay. Now I'm going to do one side. That looks pretty good shape-wise. And now I'm going to do the other side. If you can see that. And then on the back side, if you hot glue chenille stem down the middle, you have a feather. And it does show the chip bag on the back. If you want to make pens like Shelley was making, you could put the pen where the chenille stem is here and hot glue another feather on top of it to hide a lot of the chip bag, and you would still have a pretty fancy feather if you need a two-sided feather. But as I said, most of these I'm going to use for embellishments or happy mail, so they do just fine, you know, glued down on something. You know, you could make a pretty interesting peacock with these too. I think they're lovely, and I hope you enjoy making them as much as I do. I do have a couple more ideas to share with you using potato chip bags again. Same thing with coloring the insides with the alcohol inks. I got some Happy Mail, and there were these wonderful die cuts, and I thought, wow, that kind of reminds me of a stained glass window. So what I did was I backed it with the, you know, inked chip bag, and it does look a lot like a stained glass window. And now this is ready for me to adhere to any project. To adhere it to this, I just used some double-sided tape, and it's holding very well. And I think it's quite beautiful. Another idea what to do with this. I can't remember if I've got these in my packet from Phaedra or from Linda McCullum, but one of those gals gifted me this beautiful die cut. And this one too. This one I painted, and I haven't adhered it to the inside of the card. It's not completely adhered yet, but once again, here's a painted die cut, a fancy one, on top of the painted chip bag, and it's going to become this beautiful card. Isn't that pretty? I hope you can see that. They look kind of like stained glass windows. And once again, we're keeping potato chip bags out of the landfill, at least for a while. Hopefully people would like to save your card because it's so beautiful when you're done with it. Thank you so much for listening to my ideas and letting me share them with you, and I hope you have fun making some of these crafts. Bye.